Greetings, fellow Whovians, and welcome to Timey Wimey Review. Not only this week are we celebrating Doctor Who's 58th birthday, but also over the past few weeks it's been the 40th anniversary of the Five Faces of Doctor Who. Just in case you don't know what the Five Faces of Doctor Who was, during November of 1981 in the UK, BBC Two decided to show some classic Doctor Who stories from each era. So starting off with An Unearthly Child, all the way through to Logopolis, leading up to the Fifth Doctor's debut story, Castrovalva. Now, back then, that was a huge thing because now obviously you got streaming services, you got repeats. Back in the 80s, that wasn't really much of a thing. So, for quite a lot of Doctor Who fans and fellow Whovians, this was a big thing to see their favourites or some classic stories that have not even been repeated since its original broadcast. And one of these stories was The Three Doctors that we'll be reviewing today, which was originally broadcast on BBC One in December of 1972. Just in case you don't know the plot, after some strange disappearances, the Third Doctor and unit are under attack by strange creatures made out of antimatter. This powerful force emanating from a black hole is also attacking the Time Lords, leaving them little choice but to break their first law of time and bring the Doctor's previous incarnations out of their own time stream to help the Third Doctor before it's too late. It was great to see Patrick Troughton and William Hartnell back in action as the second and first Doctor respectively. I'll touch on that a little bit more later in this review, but it was fascinating to know that in the making of documentary on this DVD that Barry Letts and Terence Dicks were a bit against having the three Doctors or previous Doctors come back for cameos, even though they had lots of fans writing to the series to say, yes, bring them back. And then there was sort of thinking about it and also thinking, well, why are we dead against it? But with the 10th anniversary coming up and this kicking off the 10th season of classic Doctor Who, this was a right choice to bring the three Doctors together to fight an even powerful foe. And boy, it's just a fun story. I loved Patrick Troughton in this story. To be fair, I loved all the actors in this story, but I felt that Patrick Troughton definitely didn't miss a beat coming back as the second Doctor, and I loved the sparring between the second and third Doctors. I felt that Patrick and John Pertwee played off each other really well and just brought their own sort of strengths out of each other. Even though there was some tension and making of this four-part adventure in terms of how each actor learned their own dialogues, where John Pertwee was pretty much by the numbers, learnt it word for word, where Patrick Troughton was a more of an approximate of learning the dialogue. So we'll get to A to C, but kind of makes things up in the middle, but still gives an approximate and made sense part of the dialogue, which I know at the time kind of infuriated John, but there was a bit of a compromise, and it was nice that they do become great friends through the convention series and seen them again in the Five Doctors for the 20th anniversary. But here, the tension, I think, kind of helped their characters because, you know, the Doctor has an ego, let's be honest, and to have, well, for the most part, two of those egos arguing with each other, and especially in the contrast of style, you got the cosmic hobo versus the more sort of dapper, debonair, suave James Bond type of Doctor as well. So them two just worked brilliantly together. Adding to the mix, of course, is the first Doctor, William Hartnell, and again, great to see him come back. And this would have been his last acting role as well. So I felt it was very poignant that for a role that he didn't want to give up but had to due to ill health, he comes back and he does deliver. Absolutely does deliver. You know he's frail. You know that he's struggling, but to come out of retirement and to come back as the first Doctor one more time it is a joy to see. And yeah, you could argue it would be great in a what if moment of, what he would have been like if he was in the TARDIS with the second and third Doctor. But him being stuck in the time bubble and making brief appearances just kind of add to the mystique for the first Doctor, and I thought that was really good and kind of keeping him in line. He's the original, he's the one of the very much the doer, as I say, because from even just in 10 years, Doctor Who has changed so much from 63 to 73, in terms of not only in front of the camera but behind the camera, in terms of writing, acting style, and everything that goes with it. But I felt that William Hartnell did keep up with the pace, and I love the line of "You're my replacements, a dandy and a clown." Just fantastic stuff. I like Stephen Thorne as Omega, the renegade Time Lord stuck in that black hole. And yeah, he's very much melodramatic, over the top character. But I loved Stephen Thorne's portrayal of him. Again, in the documentary, he said if I had to do it again, I would have toned things down. But I kind of like that he went full on over the top. I love his delivery of a hero. I should have been a god, and just the thunderous egomaniac that is Omega. And you kind of sympathize with Omega being, letting the Time Lords have the freedom of traveling in space and time, but he was the one that created it, but has been lumbered in a totally different dimension. And I love Stephen Thorne's whale scream that he did for Omega when there was the reveal of Omega can't leave his own dimension. It's just impossible, and that whale is quite haunting. I know he wants to go further than that, but it is still quite haunting. But and in terms of a villain, I thought it was a really good villain to have, because still, really, in terms of the Time Lords and the history of the Time Lords and the history of the Doctor, it's still in its infancy. We don't really know that much about him, and even Gallifrey, the name Gallifrey wasn't even around at that point. So to have extra sort of elements of Time Lord lore or history, as it were, it just added that sort of extra sort of celebratory elements to this story. I have to talk about the characterization of the Brigadier in this story, because I really liked that he was out of the loop in terms of just what is going on. Yeah, I felt like he was kind of like 5 steps behind everyone else, and he just couldn't comprehend what was going on. It was just like a weird total denial. When he saw the second Doctor, he just thought the Doctor was just messed something up in the TARDIS, and that's why he sort of reverted back to his old face. He couldn't comprehend the size of the TARDIS, and when the unit headquarters get transported into another dimension, he again just total blanket denial. He just thinks that they're in chroma, of all places, and they've just been transported into another place on Earth, and he's more worried that it's going to turn into an all-out international war. It's going to be classed as an act of war. I thought Nicholas Courtney still played the military essence of the Brigadier, but I felt kind of that they had fun with the Brigadier in this one. There is an argument to say that they might have kind of dumbed down, or at least sort of hammed up his character a bit, or compared to when we first meet him in the Web of Fear or the Invasion, where he is the man in charge. But I still think there's elements in this here. I thought that they just made it a bit more of a fun character. And because yeah, he is military, it's more of a shoot first, ask questions later. But sometimes things that are just beyond the realms of reality or space and time, yeah, he's not going to get it. He is just going to go into military mind mode and just go into blanket denial. But loved Nicholas Courtney's performance in this, and I thought a bit of a send up to the Brigadier works well in this story. I don't know if this was done intentionally or it just sort of a natural progression from script to screen, but I thought the story by Dave Martin and Bob Baker kind of had that. science fact meeting science fiction. So we had like the serious sort of scientific technobabble against sort of a B movie type of elements, because we had like the antimatter creatures, which I thought design wise, I thought they looked really good. I thought it looked quite colourful with the different bubbles, and even having like the claws with the light up sort of fingers to fire off sort of energy bolts. Design of them hopping around didn't quite go, but it kind of just adds to that sort of camp space romp, is all I can sort of describe this story. And even with the dialogue as well, again, I don't know if that was more of a director's choice or just the way the sort of script kind of delivered itself. I love that not only obviously Stephen Thorne sort of took it up to sort of hammed it up in a good way, but I felt like other characters was like that, especially the Chancellor and President of the Time Lords, where there was discussing about uh, bringing the second Doctor out of his own time stream, and he's like, "But you can't." But I must. So be it. On your head, and it just sort of just lend itself to just having a fun time with the script and just playing around with it. And everyone kind of got into the act, but still having that serious element of Doctor Who, still having that sort of fun creepy elements, but again just having that, I think, just that party sort of vibe, for with it being the opening season of the 10th anniversary Doctor Who. Everyone, like I said, everyone got into the act, like Joe Grant, me, you, Uku Chu, and Sergeant Benton, and even the sort of guest appearances like the scientific guy, I've forgotten his name now, I do apologize, and Mr. Hollis, the gamekeeper, when he comes back and his wife's like, "Where have you been?" He's like, "Woman, you don't want to know." All of it just works so well. So with all that being said, I'm going to give the Three Doctors a Tardis rating of 7 out of 10. It's just a fun space romp, not to be taken too seriously, even though it does have some serious, minor serious moments in there, especially at the cliffhanger of episode 3 with the Third Doctor battling the inner psyche of Omega. But everyone's getting on the celebratory act, and it's just, yeah, it just has that energy and feel, and just the fun factor in this story. It's great to see Patrick Troughton back as the second Doctor, but especially it's great to see William Hartnell back as the first Doctor. Sadly, William Hartnell passed away not too long after filming this story, but just to see him one more time as the first Doctor, the original, you might say, it's a special treat for everyone involved, especially viewers at home. Dave Martin and Bob Baker did a great job of enhancing the Doctor Who story, with having more of the elements of the Time Lords, and of course the Third Doctor getting his just rewards at the end of the story. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the Three Doctors, and let me know what is your favourite multi-Doctor story, whether it's from the classic era, modern era, or the audio adventures. There's plenty to choose from. Plus, let me know your thoughts from the Five Faces of Doctor Who. Do you remember watching it back in 1981? If so, let me know all of that in the comments below. Next time on Timey Wimey Review, it is chapter 5 of Doctor Who Flux, Survivors of the Flux. And if it's anything like the previous chapter, hopefully we're in for a banger. Until then, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed this review. Please like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. And as a good doctor once said, it's been so nice to meet me.